Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Wednesday, the 24th of May. Good to have you aboard. We are a Blue Wire podcast, presented as always by our title sponsor of everything, ZASLOW Show 2.0, Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys, 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. We are not in the most festive of moods today. Last night, the Miami Heat had a chance to clinch the Eastern Conference Championship, clinch another berth in the NBA Finals, do it on the home floor, while at the same time ripping the heart out of their biggest rival, that being the Boston Celtics. And they came up very short in the second half with a 115-99 loss. So real disappointing night. That's going to be the majority of this show today. We are going to talk to our pal Nick Kostos, Odyssey sports betting expert. Nick, of course, was a regular on ZASLOW Show on terrestrial radio for several years. Used to do weekly hits with us. So we'll get Nick on today. We'll get his thoughts on moving forward. Game 5 tomorrow night. The line on the game, series price, Panthers, all that good stuff. So we'll get our pal Nick on the show. That'll be a lot of fun. And of course, tonight, you got the Florida Panthers, who have the same opportunity that your Miami Heat had last night. The Panthers can clinch the Eastern Conference Championship. I think that's the Prince of Wales trophy. They could clinch the Eastern Conference Championship and their second ever berth to the Stanley Cup Finals tonight on the home ice, where tickets are thousands of dollars. I mean, impossible to go to these games if you got a budget. I'm not going, and I'm not even trying to go, because these tickets are crazy expensive. You can't expect anybody to have the hookup for you. So I'm not even trying to go. And I feel bad because my younger son, Jordan, he loves the Panthers. It's been our thing all throughout the year. We probably went to like 7 or 8 games, and he loves the Panthers. That's our thing. And he really wants to go to a Panther playoff game. He's never been to a Panther playoff game. We haven't been to I haven't been to one this year. I've been in 2 Heat playoff games. I have not been to a Panther playoff game this year. It's so expensive. So I feel bad. It's like, I want to go. I'm like, all right, let's, I'm monitoring ticket prices, like as if somebody is just going to put a bargain on Ticketmaster on the resale market, or they're just trying to unload, tickets on StubHub, It ain't gonna happen. But I'm keeping an eye on. The Ticket Ninja is keeping an eye on it, but he's gonna strike out. So anyway, I feel bad. But I am excited for the Panther fan who is gonna be in attendance tonight, because hopefully, it couldn't happen last night with the Heat. Hopefully you're gonna witness some history tonight with your favorite little hockey team. So even though we're bummed out about what happened last night, we're gonna have a fun show today. I promise you. So let's get right after it, right? The first thing that you got to say, that I think you guys want to hear me talk about is, am I worried? Am I panicked? Now, I went into last night's game very confident. I think I told you that throughout the show yesterday. Felt very confident throughout the day. And even felt like at halftime, the Heat up 6, 56-50. Felt good. And then there's that stretch. I told you about this, and this happened in Game 3. The Heat were up by, what were they up by at halftime game? You're up by 15. And the first, like Marcus Smart had a 3-point play, cut it to 12. And then the Heat all of a sudden pushed the lead, and it grew and it grew and it grew. The first few minutes of the third quarter are always enormous. And last night, same thing. The Heat are up by 6, 56-50. What's going to happen here? If the Celtics get the first couple baskets, all of a sudden it's a 1-point game or it's a 2-point game. If the Heat get the first few points of the period, okay, all of a sudden it's a 10-point lead or an 11-point lead. And what winds up happening? The Heat go up by 9, 61-52. So they've started the period 5-2. All right, a 6-point lead is now pushed to 9. This looks like it's headed in the right direction. There were 2 moments in the game last night that signaled the end for the Heat, and obviously the missed opportunity for the Heat. We'll circle right back to that. But first, I felt really good going into the game. I felt really good at halftime. You're getting Caleb Martin. Like, our pal Evan Cohen, SiriusXM Mad Dog Radio, Morning Man every morning from 6 to 9. He told us a couple weeks ago, he thinks Caleb Martin thinks he's Jimmy Butler. And you saw that last. Like, Caleb Martin was sensational again in the first half. But expecting Caleb Martin to do that the whole game, every game, it's not right. You can't expect that. You didn't get the games from the role players. Strus had the one moment with the block shot where he then recovered it. He ends up hitting the three, like crazy sequence. But other than that, Strus didn't give you anything. Gabe Vincent was fine, especially in the first half. He was very good. Lowry last night, oh, give me a break. He was awful. God, oh my God, was he bad. And Robinson gave you nothing. So what winds up happening, Jimmy had 29 points. Jimmy did not have a good game. What was he, 9 for 20 last night, I think? He missed a few free throws. Jimmy did not have a good game last night. Jimmy missed a lot of shots at the basket that he normally gets. Matter of fact, there was one possession where Jimmy missed a floater from like 8 feet, and then on the whistle, he said to whichever teammate getting the ball, goes, that's on me, I gotta make that. Jimmy did not have a good game. And I think even more important than Jimmy not having a good game, because Jimmy still managed to give you 29, but I think even more important than Jimmy not having a good game, Bam did not have the presence that he needs to have. Now, you know how I feel about Bam in the playoffs. I think the first round, everyone was way too tough on him. He was fantastic against the Knicks. And this series, the first 3 games, he's been fantastic against Boston. But this is what the playoffs are. You're going to have bad games. Star players, superstars even, star players are going to have bad games. That's what the playoffs are. That's why when you could produce every single night in the playoffs, you're on a different level. If you're not one of those superstars, you're going to have off games in the playoffs. And that's exactly what happened with Bam last night. You're going to have bad games. Last night, Bam had a bad game. And it wasn't even so much that he had a bad game. He did not have, on either side of the floor, he did not have the presence that he needs to. His presence was not felt last night. There were a couple of moments where he was aggressive, but otherwise, he did not get the ball enough, and when he had it, he was not aggressive enough, and that's both ends of the floor. He did not make, you know how the coach always talks about, make your presence felt, make sure they feel you. And Bam did not do that last night. So, we'll move on from that. He'll be much better tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I prefer losing last night's game the way that they lost it rather than losing a close game. The Heat are great in close games. The Heat have been great in close games. Nobody played more close games than the Heat did this year. I prefer losing like that, where you could point out a bunch of things. We did this shitty, we did this shitty, we did this shitty, and now we're going to fix it and we're going to move on. Rather than if it was a close game and they were just better than you, that bothers me more. I'd rather lose like that last night, where there are so many talking points, there's so many coaching points that you can look at and say, yeah, this is why we lost, and this is not going to happen again because we're going to fix this. I prefer losing like that last night than losing a close game. But, like I said, I think the main thing that you guys want to hear from me today is, am I panicked? Am I worried? And I will tell you, there is absolutely no reason to panic. The Heat are the ones who were up 3-0. Don't let anyone distract you from that. The Heat are now the ones up 3-1. I mean, it doesn't matter how you got to this point. The reality is, if the Heat got to split the first 2 games in Boston, we'd have been thrilled. And then you come home and you protect home court, and now you're up 3-1. How would you feel? You'd feel freaking fantastic. It doesn't matter how you got to this point 3-1. They took both games in Boston, showing we don't care about that building. That building means nothing to us. And then they split the games in Miami. That's a lot to ask for to sweep a team It's a lot to ask for to sweep a team like Boston, and it's a lot to ask for to sweep a team like Boston in the conference finals. It doesn't matter how you went up 3-1. They're up 3-1. There's no reason to panic. You got a golden opportunity now tomorrow, and if you can't take advantage of it tomorrow, you're coming home for Game 6. I mean, think about this. What's changed? If someone said to you, hey, if I'm walking on the street and I see you, hey, random dude, the Heat are going to be up 3-2. Let's say 3-2. Let's say Boston gets tomorrow. And I think the Heat are winning tomorrow. But let's say Boston gets tomorrow. Hey, random person, do you think it'd be a good scenario for the Heat to have a closeout Game 6 in their building against Boston? Would you like that chance? It's an amazing opportunity. Well, guess what? The Heat have another opportunity even before that game. So don't let any of this national conversation distract you from the Heat were the ones up 3-0, not Boston. The Heat right now are the ones up 3-1, not Boston. There's reason to be annoyed, for sure. I was really annoyed in the second half last night. But panic? Not even if they lose Game 5. Coming home for a Game 6 to close out, where the Heat now have only lost once in the postseason. Boston is 4-5 at home in the postseason. 0-2 against the Heat. And if you take away those first 2 games against the Atlanta Hawks, the lowly Atlanta Hawks, the Celtics have lost 5 of their last 7 home games. I'm sorry. Don't let anyone try and make you think the Heat are the ones down 3-1. Like, you don't think being at home Game 6 potentially for a closeout is a great spot for Miami? They have one more game before that they could end it in. The Heat were up 3-0. It's not the other way around. Like, the national reaction to the Celtics winning one game. They didn't win a game to pull within a game. They didn't win a game to pull even. They didn't win a game to put Miami on the brink. They won one game. You'd think that the Heat are on the brink of elimination right now. And for the Heat fan, playoffs are hard, man. I feel like I do this every year when the Heat make a deep playoff run. And I know, like, our emotions get super high, super low. This is what the playoffs are about. It's super hard. And closing out this Boston team is going to be super hard. And like I said yesterday, I know there's a lot of Heat fans. And look, you could feel this way. Thought the Heat were going to smoke Boston yesterday. I did not. I thought it was going to be really hard. I thought we were going to win a really tight game. I knew Boston was going to put together a really good effort. And they did. And the Heat did not. The playoffs are hard. And I guess I understand the national reaction. I mean, I guess I get it. But, because you got to come up with content and stuff to say the next couple days, especially because the West is over. Like, you got to come up with talking points. Oh, are the Celtics about to become the first team in NBA history to come back from an 0-3 deficit? The Heat are up 3-1. And on the broadcast last night, Reggie Miller, who I think is tough to take. I don't think he's very good. But Reggie Miller, now the pressure is on the Heat? The hell are you talking about? The Heat are up 3-1. Like I said, now the pressure's on the Heat. If the Heat would have gotten it, like it doesn't matter how you got to this point. If the Heat got to split the first 2 games in Boston, and then they took both games at home and protected home court, and they're up 3-1. The Heat won yesterday. It's like, how about the Milwaukee series? The Heat were up 3-1 after winning games 3 and 4. The Heat got a split in Milwaukee. Then they won games 3 and 4 at home. They were up 3-1. Was now the pressure on the Heat? Why wasn't the pressure now on the Heat? The Heat are up 3-1. The pressure's not up. There's only pressure on the Heat because there's a chance to get to the NBA Finals because it's high-stakes playoff games and you're playing a really good Boston team. But why wasn't all the pressure on the Heat? They were up 3-1 going to Milwaukee. Why wasn't all the pressure on the Heat? It doesn't matter how we got to this point. The Heat, if anything, The Heat won the first 2 games at Boston. Now all the pressure's on the Heat. What? Going back to a building that the Heat aren't scared of playing in? And then if they can't get it done there, they come back home? And then if for some reason they can't win that, they go back to a building they're not scared of playing in? All the pressure's on the Heat? What are you talking about? There's no way I see this Heat team folding under any kind of pressure. They're only under pressure because these are high-stakes playoff games. They're going to be just fine. Like, this team is great against adversity. They are so ready for this. Nobody's wilting under any pressure on this Miami Heat team. They will not be shrinking in the moment. Like, I guess that bothers me. That whole, all the pressure's on the Heat now. Why wasn't all the pressure on the Heat when they were up 3-1, going back to Milwaukee at the team that had the best record in the NBA? Where's the pressure? Because the Heat won that game 4 and they lost this game 4? They're up 3-1. And in this series, they were up 3-0. Come on. So stupid. Tell you what's not stupid. If you got a leak in your house and you don't know where it's coming from, you're talking about huge Heat fans, the Greensteins, family friends of me, water cleanup of Florida, over 60 years of combined experience in detecting where that leak is coming from your home and patching that baby right up. Water cleanup of Florida, 954-900-8635. Call or text any time of day. And my favorite part, after the leak has been located and repaired, Water Cleanup of Florida, they're going to clean, dry, and fully restore the damaged areas. Water Cleanup of Florida, fully licensed, insured, and certified to provide the one-stop shopping that all of us busy homeowners and business owners require. You don't need to then bring in other contractors. Water Cleanup of Florida is handling the entire project from start to finish, serving the entire Tri-County area, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. Call or text Water Cleanup of Florida, 954-900-8635, or go to WCUFL.com. If you don't believe me, hey, go check out more than 80 5-star reviews on Google. Water Cleanup of Florida, 954-900-8635. Water Cleanup of Florida. We clean up your schmutz. I know my guys, the Greensteins, they were at the Panther game the other night. I don't know if they're going tonight. Huge South Florida sports fans, Miami guys. So, look, you know how it works. You support, in order for you to support me, you got to support the sponsors. If you support the sponsors who support the show, everything goes round and round. That's right. There you have it. Hey, by the way, make sure you like, you rate, you comment, you do all that good stuff. The show is really growing, and I really appreciate that. That's good for everybody. And by the way, like if the Heat fan's angry about something, and you know this means nothing to me. Yesterday before the game, and you get the officials, right? And Scott Foster is the crew chief. I got news for you. There's nothing wrong with Scott Foster as an official. There are officials who are terrible. Ed Malloy is terrible. There are officials who are terrible. Tony Brothers is the worst official I've ever seen. So, I have no reason to tell you that an official is fine if he's awful. There's nothing wrong with Scott Foster. And then everyone gets, Scott Foster this, Scott Foster that. It's such baloney. And I saw some of this on social media yesterday. I don't want to hear about officiating last night. You're bitching about seriously, you're bitching about Scott Foster last night. You're a huge loser. You are. The Heat got their butt kicked in the second half. The Heat did not play well in the second half. The Celtics made shots, specifically Jason Tatum in that second half. If you're bitching and moaning about Scott Foster after last night's game, you're a huge loser. Let's call a spade a spade. Stop it with the complaining about the officiating. In a game that we lost by 16, you're a loser, if that's what you're talking about. Now I'm not talking about like Carolina Hurricane fans bitching about the officiating. How about through 3 games, score more than one 5-on-5 goal? Huh? How about you don't rely on the officials to bail you out? Score more than one 5-on-5 goal in 3 games, and then you have to bitch about officiating. Carolina Hurricane fans, you guys are coming off as losers. And any Heat fan who's complaining about Scott Foster after last night, you're a huge loser. Zip it. You're making us all look bad. But there were... So Jimmy, 29 points, did not have a good game. It's funny how that works, right? Jimmy has 29. did not have a good game. The Heat get their butt kicked in the second half. Game 3, Jimmy didn't have to do very much offensive. What do you have, 16? And the Heat kicked like the buzzsaw. Was out all game long against the Celtics in Game 3. Bam did not have the presence on either side of the floor that he needed. And Lowry was horrendous. Like, just when you think, oh, Kyle Lowry is giving that championship contribution, he was horrendous last night. 6 turnovers off the bench? The hell out of here. Like, I hated him last night. He was horrible. That's a combination of horrible and awful. He was horrible, Kyle Lowry. But 2 moments, okay? 2 moments for me that signaled the end of the game for the Heat. So like I said a few minutes ago, early third quarter is such a huge moment in the game. The trailing team gets a couple baskets in a row. The leading team gets a couple baskets in a row. Changes the entire dynamic moving forward. And so last night, it was the Heat who got, like, the Heat outscored Boston 5-2 early in the third quarter. So a 6-point lead has grown to 9. And right here, this is where you could put the nail in the coffin. We're up 61-52. It may have been after the Strus bobble 3 and then, block 3 and then he hits it. So we're up 61-52. It's like, this is it. This is the moment. We got 2 defensive stops in a row after we went up by 9. Did not score on either. And that right there, the Celtics then, from that point, it was a 16-0 run after that, right? And all of a sudden, a 9-point lead is now a 7-point deficit. Those 2 possessions after we went up by 9, where we got the stops, instead of that run starting up by 9, it could have started up 13 or up 14, changes the entire dynamic if we go ahead by 13 or 14 points there. We came up empty on those next 2 possessions after going up 61-52. That, to me right there, and in the moment, was a major wasted opportunity. That's when the game turned. We did not capitalize. That's when it turned. And then the final part where, like, the game was lost. We cut what was like an 11-point lead to 5. 88-83. I think it was after a pair of free throws maybe from Gabe Vincent. It's 88-83. Celtics call timeout, which by Joe Mazzulla, who hates calling his timeouts, Tatum was on the bench. It's 88-83. I think it's late third. I don't think it's quite the fourth quarter yet. Anyway. Was it the fourth quarter? We were outscored 38-23. Oh, no, it's the fourth quarter then. Yeah, because we had 79 after 3 quarters. All right, so this is early in the fourth quarter. Mazzulla calls timeout if we cut the lead to 88-83 to get Tatum back in the game. I mean, he finally learned, hey, these timeouts at your disposal. You could use them. Something good could happen. Tatum comes back in the game, 88-83. This could be like the push that the Heat need to get back in this game. Tatum immediately comes back in, hits a jumper. It's 90-83. Then you have Duncan Robinson, who thinks he has a wide open 3, gets blocked from behind. I think it was Derek White who blocked it. Other end of the floor, transition, Jaylen Brown, dunk, 92-83. All of a sudden, 9-point lead, boom, game over. Game was lost at that point. It was over. Those were the 2 biggest sequences of the game for me. When the Heat could not take advantage, up 61-52, and then when we cut it 88-83, timeout Boston, Tatum comes back in the game. And of course, earlier in that run, he had all the 3-pointers. Look, Tatum's a bit of a front runner. He is. A little bit of a front runner. But you give him credit there in the second half, and he had his first basket of the series in the fourth quarter. You give it up for Jason Tatum, who, by the way, he's a tough watch. His body language is awful. He's a bad body language player. And, like, you don't see that out of Jimmy Butler. A lot of times the role players, the lesser players on the team, they're going to follow their leader in that respect. And Tatum is such a bad body language guy. You're not going to get that. Like, I feel like Jimmy inspires confidence in the rest of his guys. And Tatum's body language is horrendous. Where if Tatum's not clicking, you may not get it from the other guys. But last night, Tatum came through in a huge way in the second half. He came through in a huge way fourth quarter, game 6 in Philly. Came through in a huge way the entire game 7 against Philly. But if Tatum's not clicking, his body language is so bad, I don't think he inspires the guys and the rest of the team to pick it up. With Jimmy, it's different. And so Jimmy Butler postgame showing you exactly what kind of leader he is. And if you're a Heat fan and you need to feel a little bit, well, I hope if you're listening, you're a Heat fan. If you're a Heat fan and you're trying to feel a little bit better about what happened last night, like, here's Jimmy Butler postgame exuding all of his leadership qualities. And this sums up why they're going to be okay.
Until on the Boston side of things?
No. If anything, it'll build momentum for us, knowing that we have to play with a lot more energy. And, we got to play like our backs are against the wall. But I think all year long we've been better and able to do things the hard way.
Jimmy, sometimes in the playoffs there can be kind of these big swings within a series. There can be big emotional swings. After a game like this, how do you personally kind of avoid from getting too low yourself?
Stay consistent. Do the same thing that I do, that we do after every game. We're going to listen to some music. We're going to drink some beers back there. We're going to go have some wine. I don't think that you could just focus on basketball all the time. You have to be able to, get away from the game a little bit. Think about it. But at the end of the day, you fall back on, your habits, how consistent you're going to be. And myself and my teammates, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to smile. We're going to be in this thing together like we always are. We're going to go get one on the road.
They're going to be just fine. You're looking for something to make you feel better, you go right to your leader. You go right to Jimmy. Makes me feel better. I believe him. I believed him the entire postseason. I believed him since the day he got here. And Jimmy post-game that's why this team is not going to wilt. This team's not going to shrink under any kind of pressure. This is a very mentally tough team who is totally ready for adversity. And the entire season and everything they went through and all the close games, it leads exactly to this point. And maybe it serves as, I'm not going to say a wake-up call, but sometimes you need to get punched in the mouth. And the Heat got punched in the mouth in the second half last night, and they are not afraid of that building. And if they can't get it done tomorrow night, I feel 1,000% confident Saturday night in Miami. Don't let any of this talk on television make you think the Heat are the ones down 3-1. Why wasn't all the pressure on the Heat when they were up 3-1 going to Milwaukee? You don't have an explanation for it. It's stupid is what it is. You got to come up with things to talk about. The Western Conference is done. There's only so much LeBron retirement talk we can muster, right? So it's got to be, the Heat, pressure's on them. They're in trouble. No, it isn't. And no, they're not. Hey, guys, I've been telling you about Brunt Insurance for a while now. I love my sponsors. You got to make sure you support the sponsors who support the show, and that's how we keep everything going. I've been a client at Brunt Insurance for about 10 years now. We all need homeowners insurance. We need car insurance. If you have a boat, you need boat insurance. Motorcycle. For me, I get my homeowner's insurance through Brunt Insurance. Bruntinsurance.com, 954-589-2204. I know that when I go to sleep at night, God forbid there's a disaster, something happens with my house, I'm covered. It's going to be okay because I have the most comprehensive, affordable coverage that's possible out there, and it's Brunt Insurance that gets it for me. From Pensacola all the way down to the Keys and beyond, Brunt Insurance delivers you that comprehensive insurance tailored exactly to your needs. You call Brunt Insurance at 954-589-2204. By the way, most recently rated top 5 insurance agency in the country, #1 in Florida. That's right. Look, the market's confusing out there. You need someone to help you. 954-589-2204. Let Greg Brunt and his team at Brunt Insurance, fully licensed staff, they know whatever area you're calling from, they'll be able to tell you exactly what kind of coverage you need. And like I said, I'm not sending you to someone that I don't use. I've been with Brunt Insurance for almost 10 years now. Like I said, motorcycle, boat, car, maybe you rent, maybe you have a condo. It's all good. Bruntinsurance.com, 954-589-2204. So, we're down about the Heat. They'll be ready tomorrow night. It's a pressure cooker. We're all going to be nervous. That's okay. Playoffs are hard. The Heat are not afraid of that building. Tonight, though, you want to talk about a building that's going to be hot. Another opportunity for the South Florida sports fan for an all-time memorable night. And this one feels special. Are the Florida Panthers tonight going to give you a forever game? Like, can they just go out there and kick the shit out of the Hurricanes? Can it just be a party at FLA Live Arena from start to finish? Can we get a party? Can it be a celebration? Can we get winning handshakes at FLA Live Arena for the first time in 27 years? Come on! That's what's at stake tonight. Think about that. The Panthers have not had winning handshakes at home. They've never had winning handshakes at FLA Live Arena. Never. They have not had winning handshakes at home since the second round against Philadelphia in 1996. That's how long it's been since the Panther fan has got to witness winning handshakes on the home ice. Can tonight be the night? The Prince of Wales trophy will be in the building. Can the Panthers sweep the mighty Carolina Hurricanes? Now, I would love for it to be a blowout and for it to be a party from start to finish. I don't believe that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be hard as hell to knock off these Hurricanes. Let's be honest. Hurricanes outplayed the Panthers in Game 3. But the Panthers goalie is standing on his head. Sergei Bobrovsky is the best goaltender in the world right now. And this series, I mean, the Hurricanes, obviously they could have had Game 1. Obviously they could have had Game 2. 2 overtime wins. And then they outplayed the Panthers Game 3. So I feel really good about the Panthers winning tonight. But the Hurricanes can psych themselves up and make a case that they should be up 3-0. They can make that case. But the Panthers are the ones who made the plays. A bounce here, bounce there. You get a little bit lucky here and there, and you find yourself, you're up. Now, the Panthers have earned it. They deserve this 3-0 lead. But the Panthers, by no means, have dominated this series. Not even close. Like I felt the Panthers, when the Panthers were up 3-0 against Toronto, I felt like they had dominated the series. They have not dominated this series against Carolina. But the Panthers have an opportunity for winning handshakes on the home ice for the first time in 27 years, for the first time in that building. And they could win the East. They could return to the Stanley Cup final. We don't have to continue talking about 1996 forever. There could be multiple seasons that we reminisce about, that we talk about. That's what's on the line tonight. It's not just all about 1996. If the Panthers win tonight, we have another season that we can remember. We have another all-time season if they get this win tonight. It's not going to always be about 1996. We could talk about 2023. I'm very pumped up about tonight. And here's the good news. My man George Richards, Florida Hockey Now. I saw him this morning on Twitter. Sasha Barkov participated in the entire morning skate. Let's go! So it looks like Barkov is ready and available for tonight. Now, it is kind of like, man, that's a little bit surprising because he left the game midway through the first period, never returned, and just 2 days later, he's good to go. Now, does that mean he's 100%? None of these guys are 100% right now. But you knew if there was any way the captain was going to be able to get on the ice for them to clinch the Eastern Conference Championship, he's going to be there. He was a full participant in a light morning skate today, but that would signal he is ready to go for tonight, Game 4. So that's super exciting. All right, hopefully we start the show tomorrow with the Florida Panthers back in the Stanley Cup Final and with the Miami Heat with a chance to get back to the NBA Finals. That's what's on the line tonight. Very excited. What a stretch, man. I'm excited for everybody. I'm excited for the Panther fan. If you're thinking about going to the game tonight, if you have the means to go to the game tonight, don't wait for the Stanley Cup Final. Like I've never been to a Stanley Cup Final game. Don't wait. Go tonight. Tonight is a chance, and we talked about this the last couple days, of trying to catch those sports moments. Catch that moment tonight. go to the game tonight if you can. If you're saving up money for a Stanley Cup final game, that's great. Go tonight. Experience potential history at FLA Live Arena. Go tonight if you're thinking about it. Go tonight. So, I want to do a little bit of NBA here before we get to our pal Nick Costas. So, LeBron James a couple nights ago, right? I told you. To calculate, now he lacks self-awareness, but it's a calculated move after the game where he gives off the impression that he might retire, that he's going to think about retirement. What's been the conversation the last 24 hours regarding LeBron? Has it been LeBron got swept? Or has it been, is LeBron going to retire? See, LeBron was accomplishing two things that post-game press conference by putting his future in question. One, making sure that the talk about him is not that he just got swept out of the playoffs. It's will he ever play again? And two, it's putting pressure on Rob Pelinka and the Lakers front office that if you don't get me what I want, presumably Kyrie Irving, which, I mean, if you don't get me what I want, I will retire. That's the LeBron move. Those are two things that he accomplished by putting his future in doubt, his playing career in doubt. Those two things. And what have we talked about the last 36 hours? What has it talked about on television? Has it been LeBron getting swept? Or has it been LeBron's future? LeBron's future's been the talk. The Nuggets haven't been the talk. LeBron getting swept by the Nuggets has not been the talk. It's, is LeBron going to retire? That's been the conversation. He knows what he's doing. There is zero chance LeBron James retires. Zero. If anything, and if I'm the Lakers, by the way, there is no way I'm mortgaging the future. When LeBron retires, he doesn't have to worry or care about the future of the LA Lakers. That's Rob Pelinka's job. And this team just got swept out of the Western Conference Finals. They're clearly not good enough. And you're going to mortgage your future for Kyrie Irving, who's a disaster everywhere he goes? The Lakers just straight up tell LeBron, yeah, we're not doing it. And then what's LeBron going to do? Retire? No, he's not going to retire. There's no chance he retires. But it's also about, hey, don't look over here, look over here. Don't talk about getting swept. Talk about whether or not I'm going to leave basketball forever. He's good at that. He knows what he's doing there. He knows exactly what he's doing. And if nothing else, you know there's zero chance of LeBron retiring. You think LeBron is going to leave basketball without a farewell tour? I could see LeBron announcing 2 years in advance when he's retiring, so he gets 2 years of a farewell tour. Not just these are the final 82 games of LeBron's career. These are the final 164 games of LeBron's career. I could see us counting down 2 years of a farewell tour. There is no chance LeBron leaves without pomp and circumstance and without everyone fawning over him every last game he's going to be in that city. No chance LeBron retires this offseason. And I also want to mention, so this quote came out yesterday as well from ESPN's Dave McMenamin about LeBron playing with Bronny, who's maybe an NBA player. Huge maybe. Quote, just because that's my aspiration or my goal doesn't mean it's his, and I'm absolutely okay with that. So he's saying he wants to play with his son, but maybe his son, that's not his thing. It feels like maybe they've had conversations recently where, yeah, that's not like a huge thing for Bronny. And guess what? I think this was a couple of appearances ago that I had on the Levitard show where I brought this up and everyone thought I was crazy. Why would Bronny want to play with his dad? Why would an NBA player want to be on the same team as his dad? why would he want to be traveling all the time with his dad? Why would he want to be in these cities with his teammates and he's got to look over his shoulder at the club or at dinner or maybe hanging out with girls? And he's got to look over his shoulder and there's his dad. There's no way Bronny wants to be on the same team as his dad when he gets to the NBA. And I think that's a little bit of what we're seeing. Like, I think LeBron has realized, oh, maybe Bronny isn't so interested in that. Why would you want to be around your dad all the time when you get to the NBA? Like, yes, he's LeBron, but to this kid, he's dad. Why would you want to be around your dad all the time? Especially, like at USC next year, Bronny's going to be the king of campus. That's going to be a really fun lifestyle. And then he'll go to the NBA maybe. I don't know that he's an NBA player. But then he'll go to the NBA maybe, and he's just around his dad. And like, he's with his dad all the time. He's with his father. He's with his parent all the time. That doesn't seem fun to me. Everyone thought I was crazy when I brought that up. And that seems to be exactly what's happening, where Bronny's kind of hinted at LeBron like, I don't know that I want my parents around me all the time when I become a professional. When I'm starting my career, do I want my dad around me all the time? You're my dad. You're LeBron James to everybody else, but you're my parent. I don't think I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want it. I think that's a little bit of what you got there. I do. All right.